Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of Live with David Lewis. I am your host, David Lewis. Today is Friday, June 11th, and I want to welcome you all to the show. I've got a great show for you today. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of talking about a sales technique, I'm going to talk about a theory, a thought, a concept. And that thought and concept is based around two words: trust and rapport. Can you get the customer to trust you? Do you have rapport with the customer? And I'm going to give you my opinion, as I always do. And you've got to tell me what your thoughts are. You've got to make up your own mind. But let me begin by sharing with you the definition of trust. Let's talk about trust first. The definition of trust is an assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. That's trust. So I guess the initial question is do customers trust salespeople? Would you trust you if you were the customer? I got to be honest with you. I don't know if we're ever going to get people to trust us. You see, you've got to remember, we have two totally separate agendas. The salesperson has one agenda, the customer has another agenda. My agenda as a salesperson is I want to sell a car. When do I want to sell a car? I want to sell the car right now, today. And how much gross do I want to make on that? As much as humanly possible. Now, the customer, they have an agenda. So what's their agenda? Well, they want to buy the car when they're ready, and it's probably not going to be today. How much do they want to pay? As little as humanly possible. And what happens is you have two people with two different mindsets going into a process, procedures, and some sales presentations and negotiations. So I guess the question is this, does the customer actually trust us? Do they believe everything we say when they know that our agenda is to sell them a car today and for much gross as humanly possible? Now, the second thing is rapport. And this is a huge word, and we're going to talk a lot about this. But the definition of rapport is a harmonious relationship between two people. Let me say it again. The definition of rapport is a harmonious relationship between two people. Now, the definition of harmonious is something that's soothing and comforting. So let me ask you this. Is the process that we're putting the customer through soothing and comforting? Do they find it soothing and comforting? Do they come to our dealerships relaxed and excited about spending time with a salesperson that's going to try to sell them a car today and for as much gross as possible? And I think the answer is no, especially by the definition of rapport. Most of us will never get rapport with a customer. Now, I realize I am contradicting everything you've probably been taught in the past. I get that. I've studied this very intently. I study the customer. I always want to know what their thoughts are. But how are you going to get rapport with somebody when you're trying to sell them something? And I'm going to give you a different word in a minute. Now, do I think some salespeople have rapport with some customers? Absolutely. I think that if you've been selling cars at the dealership for 25 years, you know somebody personally, maybe you friends, family, they live in the neighborhood, they bought multiple cars from you. Could there be some form of rapport? Yeah, probably. But that is more the exception than the rule. You see, we typically confuse what we're trying to get. We're not trying to get rapport. I'm going to give you a better word than rapport. What you're trying to get is likability. You're just trying to get that customer to like you. If they like you, you're going to go miles with these people. It's going to be great. It's not the same. Likability feels and tastes like rapport, but it is not the same. I think personally that likability is better than getting rapport. Because when somebody likes you, they'll spend time with you. They'll listen to you. They will be engaged in what you're doing and what you're saying. See, there's some problems with rapport. Well, first of all, rapport can be fake. Okay. Some people can have fake rapport where I pretend that, I'm doing what's best for you. When we say I'm in the negotiations, I'm on your side. I want to get you the best deal possible. I think people understand that that's not really the case. We obviously just want to sell them a car and we want to sell it to them today. A great example is, the dating scenario. Okay. When we match the opposite sexes together, men change their opinion to match the opinion of someone they want to be with. And that now becomes fake. You see a beautiful girl and you want to start to talk to her and you have one opinion and now she says a different opinion. Well, then we sometimes agree with that opinion and say, that's our opinion too, because we're looking to get something out of that. We wanted a phone number or a date, whatever the situation may be. Rapport also takes a tremendous amount of time to develop. It's like sharing the same hobby or favorite film or cuisine or political views. I mean, it takes time to build rapport with someone. You can't build rapport with them in 2 hours. It's humanly impossible. In reality, it's just a surface connection of what we're getting. It doesn't mean much. Rapport is connecting on a deeper level. Trying to build rapport can turn you into what we call a yes man. You're going to agree with the customer 100% of the time, and they understand what you're doing. Rapport building, makes us scared to rattle the cage. We're afraid to say yes. No, I shouldn't say yes. We're afraid to say no to a customer. When a customer asks a question, we don't want to be negative because we're afraid we're going to lose that rapport. Okay. But likability is so much different. I don't have to trust you, but I can still like you. I can still like you. And the more I like you, again, the longer I'm going to spend with you. So I want you to switch your mindset from rapport building to becoming an expert challenger. Have an opinion. Don't be afraid to tell the customer that they're wrong or what's going on. Cut to the chase. Don't waste your customer's time in certain situations. They're there for a purpose and they want to get a job done, and that's to find a car and solve a problem. Okay? Be direct with your customers. Be honest with them. Tell them the way it is. They will respect you for that, and that will increase your odds of your likability. The good news is you don't have to have rapport. All you need, again, is likability. Likability, again, is not the same as rapport. It's better. It's stronger. You can like someone that you haven't even met. You could like someone, a motivational speaker, a movie star, or whoever it may be, someone from a distance. You don't have rapport with them. Liking someone makes you want to please that person. So if a customer's with you and they like you, they might not want to disappoint you, which is going to make it harder for them to say no. It's going to be harder for them to give you a stronger objection that you might not be able to overcome. And again, you can like someone that you still don't trust. Remember, you're still a car salesperson. I'm not going to trust you, okay? And I'm going to be point blank with you. I buy cars just like everybody else, and I buy from my local dealerships, to people that are friends of mine, and I still double check their price to make sure that I'm still getting a fair deal. Doesn't mean I don't mind paying a few dollars more, but I want to make sure it's reasonable, and that's very important. So let's go back to this trust factor. Can you develop trust with a new customer? Yes, now I'm contradicting myself, but it's a different kind of trust now, okay? Trust in a car salesperson is not eternal. Trust is not a one-size-fits-all. There are many levels of trust. Let me give you an example. Can they trust you to know your product knowledge? Absolutely. I trust you that you know your product knowledge. Can they trust you to know the benefits of a lease versus a purchase? Absolutely. Can they trust you to know the difference between different models and different brands? Can they trust you to know the difference between coupes and sedans? Absolutely. Do they trust that you have their best interest at heart? Probably not. Why? Because you're still a salesperson. You're still trying to sell the car today. You're still trying to make as much money as humanly possible. You're still putting your interest before theirs. Now, is this a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. Okay. I want you to sell the car. I want you to make as much money as humanly possible. That boils down again to the likability factor. The more I like you, the more I'm going to lower my defenses. The more my defenses come down, the better presentation and demonstration you can make. So it's not a bad thing at all. Now, there are things, I got so many notes here to cover. There are certain things that we call short-term trusts. Okay, so there are some things. They don't take long to develop. They do have limitations. They can be lost in a moment, and they're very fragile. Okay, long-term trust takes time to develop, has few limitations, and is forgiving. So again, you can't get that short-term trust because you are that car salesperson. So let's now flip back to the like. So how do you get a customer to like you? This is so important, folks. How do you get a customer to like you? Well, first of all, you got to understand one size doesn't fit all. Your customers want to feel special. Everybody wants to feel wanted and needed and have a purpose. Approach each person as an individual, not a customer. It's really important. Create that likability factor. Respond to what they have to say immediately. Don't just be available when they're satisfied. Be available when they need you for other situations. You want me to like you? Well, go above and beyond the call of duty. Provide me with exceptional quality service. Always make your efforts to be about me, not about you. That's really going to be something important to me. Offer the unexpected. Catch me pleasantly off guard. We talk a lot about in the meet and greet. Customers come in very defensive. If the first thing out of a customer's mouth is, hey, is it okay if we walk around by ourselves? They're telling you right off the bat, I don't trust you. We definitely don't have rapport. I'm scared to death of you, and I don't like you yet. So how are you going to get me to like you? Well, if you can remove my fears, then I might like you. That's why we say, Great. Does that mean you don't have to buy a car today? No, people say no. Fantastic. Takes all the pressure off me as a salesperson. Love to spend some time with you. Show you all the cars we have. Let's do this. Let's just make today an informational gathering event. We'll look at the cars. If you see something you like, we can sit in some of them. And then before you leave, let me give you pricing to take home with you to think about and consider. So you're looking more for a newer used car. That's the beginning of getting somebody to like you, because I'm making it all about the customer. I'm removing the fear that they don't have to buy a car today. If they snap back and say, well, we're not buying a car today. Absolutely not. We've already determined that. But you've got to remember that once I get you to like me, then I can make a better presentation and demonstration. Am I still going to ask you to buy the car at the end of the process? Absolutely. We're still going to do that. Okay. How do you get your customers to like you? Well, based on your follow-up. When you follow up with them, make it an appreciation follow-up about them, about their wants, their needs. Respond to customers throughout their buying journey. Follow up to make sure they're enjoying their new vehicle. Thank customers for doing business with you. Everyone likes to feel acknowledged. Thank you is the best word you can ever say to somebody. Okay. A lot of times you need to keep it, personal and not transactional. Okay. Being more personal strengthens your bond with that customer. It increases your likability factor. Rather than being aggressive when selling, be more of a consultative sales, a conversational process. Let clients understand your intentions are pure. That's really, really important. Show your appreciation. I just mentioned that. Make sure your customers know you recognize their importance, that you're happy to see them. You're glad they're there. Make them feel comfortable. Do things that they're not expecting. It's funny. I talk about this all the time. If someone bought a car, if I was a salesperson and I sold a car to somebody, you know what I would do that nobody else ever does anymore? I'd send them a thank you note, not an email, not a text. I would actually sit down and handwrite a thank you card to them, because nobody gets that anymore. And they're going to remember that you did that. When you're in your sales process, don't ask them threatening questions. Don't ask them, what's your timeline? Don't get yourself caught up in what's your budget? Do you have a trade? How much do you own your trade? It's all the customer's thinking, why does he or she want to know this information? It hurts you in your likability factor. It's not going in the right direction. You want that customer to relax. You want them to enjoy their time there. So a lot of you are pumping in some questions now. We're going to make today a short session. But I hope that I've got you thinking. That's the best thing I can do. If I can get you to think, then I'm doing my job. Again, I've said this 5 times over the last 20 minutes. They don't trust you. They're never going to trust you. I don't care who they are. They're not going to trust you. You're never going to get rapport, but you can get likability. And likability is a much better thing. So let's see what I got coming in. Alicia wants to know, what do you say here? By developing rapport with my customer, wouldn't they be more likely to communicate more openly with me and thus respond better during negotiations? Alyssa, I know your question came in early in the session here today. No, because you're not going to get rapport with them. But if they like you, that's a whole different situation. The more they like you, the easier the negotiations will go. Okay, Brett wants to know, what about a customer I've sold several cars to? Is rapport possible with that type of client? Brett, possibly. It's possible. Do they still have their defensive guards up? Absolutely. They still do. So forget about the rapport and stay on the likability factor. They obviously have come back to you for a reason. And that is more about that they like you, that you took good care of them, that they felt comfortable being around you, that you didn't pressure them and push them. That's the likability factor, especially if they send another customer to you. That's really, really important. Okay, I'm getting something from State Line Sales. I'm concerned that if I stop trying to build rapport with my customers, I may come across too robotic and mechanical. How do I avoid that? Be personable. This is really funny. Buying a car should be fun. But unfortunately, it's not. It's a lot of stress and pressure. Selling a car should be fun, but unfortunately, it's not. It's a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. If you don't like what you do, and I know some managers out there are going to say, I can't believe you just said this to my people. If you don't like what you do, go do something else. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to be good at it. And you're going to be cancer and you're going to ruin it for everybody else. So when you go to work every day, go with the attitude to have fun. Enjoy yourself. So when you're with these customers, enjoy yourself. I'm not saying you need to dress like you're going out to party on Friday or Saturday night and using all the language you'd use out at a nightclub, but relax, create dialogue, let the customer talk to you. Just be careful that you don't push it too far where people get defensive. All right, let me take one more and then we're going to wrap today's session up. Sales department wants to know, don't you think establishing a rapport with someone would help in getting referrals from that client? Again, you guys are all getting back to the same thing. Yes, if you can get rapport, but you can get the likability factor. And the likability factor is going to get you farther than the rapport. Don't confuse the two words. Remember, rapport is defined as a harmonious relationship with two people. And harmonious is something that's soothing and comforting. Our sales process is not soothing and comforting. People do not enjoy it for the most part. And the ones that do enjoy it, all they enjoy is the battle of the negotiations. And you will never win at that. Create the likability. I'll give you a great scenario. And I love this, and most people don't. I love it when Mrs. Jones comes to the dealership to start the shopping process, and she tells me, she just started the shopping process, that she's out looking first, and then later on in the week, her husband's going to get involved. See, I like that. See, that's somebody that's buying a car. I know they're not buying a car today. I get that. So I create that likability factor. I want Mrs. Jones to only think of coming back to me. I want her to go to her husband and say, hey, I had a great time with David. He's really nice. He's kind. He didn't push me, pressure me. And that's who we need to go back and see. And they got a great car and everything works out well. So create that likability factor. Remember, they're not going to trust you. Make a great presentation and demonstration. You'll have stronger negotiation skill sets then, and you'll sell more cars and make more gross. Again, I hope all I did in this short 20-minute session today was to make you think. Good luck, everyone, and I'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.